through his Son. Because the same representation of that life is now in existence in seed form. And all of the teaching, and all of the expounding, and all the hearing, and assimilation of truth and insight. Amen. And as we go back and search those things out, it is to bring us to that understanding that we no longer have to be chained to denominational rites and traditions. No longer denominated in how we see and recognize the things of the Spirit. That we don't have to be held captive by our church tenets and our bylaws. Now, I'm not speaking bad about them, but they're supposed to be just banks. You know what I'm saying? Guideposts. It's supposed to lead us. But most of it is territorial. Most of those things is if you violate, in some of those places, you violate the bylaws, they ain't even thinking about scriptures. They talking about bylaws. Legalism at its height. You got to abide by the writ. And in some places, the bylaws have surpassed the validity of scriptures. And has been distorted because of the certain ideologies of certain people. Okay. Certain places, certain people. And what I got news, you can walk apart from those things. Those that are watching, even though you're in Babylon, even though you're in that system, it doesn't have to be in you. I believe in every system in the earth, every denomination, God has a remnant. He has a people who have not bowed to Baal. Trust me. And they're there. Some of them just there because it has produced a certain status. But they feel comfortable, so they have certain sentimental values. It can be familiar, like family. Amen. Whatever, you know, the reason why they're still there. I'm not here trying I'm here to disrupt, not destroy. Put it that way. I was going to just give you a good feel. But no, teach and disrupt things. It shakes the foundation. The foundation needs to be disrupted. Amen? So that we can build correctly. Okay? And so I say that we can walk free from these things. That God can actually rescue us from those things that come, those carnal ordinances and things that come to snuff out our spiritual progression. And, you know, we think the only hope we're going to have is in the next life. No. God is here to do much more than just that. Now, we started on talking about denominations, right? I just finished tradition, so let's get back to the denomination, because that's what the last 20 minutes we talked about denomination, all right? I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. I'm going to give you, I thought about it, I wrestled with it, and I finally said, okay, God, I'll stop wrestling. It took me a few days, because I'm going to show you through scriptures that denominationalism happened at that time. It's not something new. It's not like it's a century old. Right. You know, every time God would bring something in the earth, we denominated it. Yep. If it was a revival, we denominated it. Yep. Act of grace, we denominated it. And denominated simply means to divide the whole. Remember? It's a part of the numbering the nations, making sure that everybody has a label, that everybody is accounted for. Amen. Yeah. That's why you have them big convocations. Yeah. Making sure everybody is accounted for. Yeah. Checking, making sure that they keep an eye on the check and balances. And that's the bylaws, the rituals, the ceremonies, the programs that all churches have in place. Some of it not so good, and some of it is, you know, even this house we got bylaws. We have guidelines, we have policies. But they're only here to, not for your, I haven't included them for your, yeah, I can. It's not here just for your, put it this way, they're in place not to serve me. But most of the policies that we have here is to make sure we're in agreement. So it creates a culture. So it's not inverted. Right. Like, I came up with these ideas and I want us to look good. No. It should make you look at us instead of him.
Right.
Right? So that's what most of our policies is geared towards. Now, your interpretation, I mean, I can't do anything with that. But my intentions originally is for us to have a corporate spirit. So the policy is universal for everybody. It's a part of this house, right? So it means numbering the nation. It means making sure that everybody is minding the same things outside of the parameters of the scriptures. Its policies are subject to change according to its headquarters. So the higher ups can revise it as the trend warrants it.
Come on. Yes.
Yeah. Oops, you hear that a lot. I give disclaimers on some of my thoughts, but I'm talking about yearly. They're making sure, amen, that quality control, that everybody's on board. I've been watching a lot of some of the things that's going on, especially with the LGBT and all that's going on, and some of the churches splitting out. Some of them saying we need to be culturally relative and all that great stuff. And so you find in churches that once made the stand flat-footed are kind of teetering towards whatever the pendulum swings. And so there's a lot of people that are, even some of the people that's a part of those churches are not as resolved as they used to be. So, you know, there are some things that are just full of resolutes in scripture that just can't be, no variance of changing at all. See, the problem is, we'll just say this ain't in my note. The problem is, we don't know that our instructions have to reflect his nature.
Yes.
Bottom line, if it don't reflect his nature, I stay away from it. I don't care who legislated, I don't care what president get in there. If it don't represent the God that I know, I can't sign off on it. I don't care what type of social, political pressure is imposed upon any religious affiliation. It's a no-no for me. I stay away from it. Amen? So I believe God is an inclusive God, but there are some characteristics that are exclusive. So in our inclusivity, whatever the word is there, exclusivity, you know, you get around person, that's what they say. We got to be inclusive. So we grab everything, but you know, Jesus' parables weren't inclusive.
All right.
He gave 7 or 8 parables in Matthew 13. And he said, when a man sit down, the kingdom of heaven is like this. Threw a net out. When the net went out, got good and bad fish. I ain't never know good. Well, yeah, dude. If you get too many catfish, that's bad. But anyway, he got good and bad fish, right? Sucker's tooth. You know, remember that when you go on the project? Anyway, he threw the net out and got good and bad fish. And then he dragged it he said he dragged the net, am I right? And set it on the shore. Right? One of the parables, y'all ever read the Bible? Yeah, okay. And he sat down and he sorted through the good and bad.
All right.
It ain't that inclusive.
Come on.
Bless his name.
Yes.
I get back. Denominationals. Or denomination. To be denominated. To be shrunk from your original design. That means to be denominated, to be made of a lower expression. We're not denominating. That's the term they use in math, am I right?
Yep.
If you want to get it down to the lowest number, am I right? I wasn't a genius in math, I'll tell you. Anybody was pretty good at math? Okay, so I'm in a good group. Andy, where are you? Okay, well good, then I'm right? Yeah, that's what you want to do. I mean, I don't know how they studed me up to algebra, but I think it was a necessary class, so I just went on. My daughter was phenomenal. She used to come to me and say, Dad, are you kidding me? Hey, you give me some money, I can count it, but other than that, no, I'm just kidding. So we've been denominated. We've been broken. And so we've been denominated from the whole, having a concept of holistic ministry. So it likes to deviate from wholeness. It likes to bring people into isolation and segregation. And then we become territorial. That's what happens when you get denominated. Amen? Yeah. I got news for you. God never intended for us to be denominated. 1 Corinthians, let's go there. 1 Corinthians, first chapter. It's going to be good. For y'all here, I don't know how it's going to go for those that are watching. Because I got 2 other chapters to go to. And I just feel a little bad today. I will be honest. I kind of figured it yesterday. I was like, okay. I was tired after our little thing with King. So I went to bed early and got up early. I said, okay. Put on my dentist hat. Dentist the menace. But I'm serious. One thing about apostles, they're jealous for the Lord's body.
Yes.
That's it. They're not necessarily systemic. They're not, I'm probably, out of all my friends, I'm probably the most radical when it comes to this. Because most of my friends are diplomatic.
Yep.
I love Dr. Mwani, but she real, docile, certain things. She'll hit certain things, but I'm like, I like to go in just with boom. I mean, I don't know if that just might be precocious or whatever before I got saved. I don't know, but there's probably still some left over in there. We'll pray for me. But I just feel like that sometimes you hear that enough is enough in you. Yeah. Especially when God started showing you through scriptures and line upon line, precept upon precept. And then as the Spirit of God breathed upon the principles, it kind of gets in your spirit. And it provokes certain temperaments that's not necessarily culture. You know what I'm saying?